Now? All right. A very good morning to all. It's nice to see all lovely, beautiful women and men around listening to the Femtech sessions today. I've been asked by Praveen to talk about on the closing funding gap that the entrepreneurs have today in the investment ecosystem. Before touching upon that, I wandered around where is the gap? I am sitting on the other side of the chair, and I assume most of you all are entrepreneurs. If I'm wrong, please do correct me. Am I wrong? Any entrepreneurs, to be entrepreneurs or investors around? Most of you all are entrepreneurs? All of you all. So either women entrepreneurs or focusing on the women-oriented businesses, if I'm not wrong. Uh, because I'm sitting on the other side of the chair and understanding, so I had this big question when Praveen called me. There's no funding gap. There's not at all funding gap. In fact, I tell them that women have been more focused now. There are more women-focused funds. There are more women-focused incubations. There are more women-focused accelerators. There are more funds, angel networks, which want women entrepreneurs, women-focused businesses to come forward for funding. In fact, to that extent, that a lot of funds are not even doing the due diligences if there are women-focused businesses because they want to mentor them and take them ahead under their guidance. So my first question and to all of you all is, do you all find there is a funding gap? Yeah. And what aspect do you find? So I want to make it more interactive rather than just giving a speech on what is funding, what is the process. I'm sure everybody knows the process. Everybody's gone to the troublesome, horrendous process, but knocking the door of multiple networks, multiple VCs, asking for fundraising, tired of pitching multiple times, same thing again and again. Months and months you might not be getting replies from those funds or networks. Finally, they will come and tell you, this is not the right time, this is a winter happening, so come back after this traction. Am I right? So this happens with not only women, but even men. There's no nudge, as a investment head of a particular network or other from multiple chairs that we sit on, we do not keep that bias. As I said earlier also, women have an edge, in fact. When we get a women entrepreneur on our other side of the table for screening or for fundraising, we go first, we give them the preferences, let's talk to them rather than the other guys. Why? Because there are a lot of institutes and VCs, lots of government-focused schemes which are only made for women. Lots. I'm sure you would have done your homework, but let's make it more interactive and understand where do you find the gap. Because what I feel when I have screened multiple of women, rather even men, but women, I feel they're more fighter. They don't lose their confidence that easily. Not you, someone else. Someone else will definitely believe you. You don't believe in my business. But there is someone who will believe in, but I believe in and I will do it. That's what the attitude. But men sometimes, after 1 year of the process of the fundraising, they get so tired and frustrated that they go with any fund, any valuation, anything that they get in. It's my experience in the last 6 years now. Women have the confidence. Women know that if they want to break the glass ceiling, the trust, faith, and the confidence is what they are sitting on. Because there's not one, there are multiple chairs that they're sitting on. And they work around it. Men are also the fighters. It's not that they give up. But there are times, especially in the last 1.5, 2 years, people have given up. Why people have given up? Because of a lot of reasons. And I don't want to get involved into those reasons. But there has been a frustration. There has been an issue which comes across that we've lost the confidence in the business. Because we are not able to raise funds, we are not able to go ahead. We at Jito, we do not believe in fundraising. We believe if you're strong, if you're confident about your business, get the sales, get the turnover ready. Don't go for fundraising, go for business. Nobody will stop you for business, right? Fundraising, people will take a hiccup. Or he's asking for fund. What is the equity? What is the dilution? Let's negotiate. What have they put across? first round only, they've talked about only 10% dilution with the raising of 30 crores. I don't think it's worth it. Too much you will negotiate. They're on the multiple platforms for raising funds. Let's keep on hold. Let's connect somebody else. Let's talk about it. But if you go for business, I'm sure they will talk to you once. Any hospitals, any doctors, once, twice, third time, they'll 100% give you here to give you business. So why not focus on turnover, build up your top line, and then go for fundraising? The entire issue of this fundraising has been people with just an idea knock the door of the investors. If you go with the proper turnover, or if you go with the proper top line and bottom line, I assure you, none of the investor of any stage, any fund, any VC, any institution on a global level, they will come and knock your door. Try this. And if you have already tried this, please, there'll be doors all opened. We are right here. You can talk to us as well. You have some question? Yeah, please. Yeah. Better than me, rather.
Maybe generating revenue, but may not be generating a lot of growth, right? So at the end of the day, you know what kind of return you want, right, from your funds. So again, if you look back at the fundamental definition of this funding gap, are we referring to ventures run by women or femtech, which is a subset of that? Because I mean, you could be a female entrepreneur, but not necessarily solving a problem in women's health, right? So it will be great to get more clarity on this, right? Because there's a big difference between if you're just a female entrepreneur just solving a general problem, because there's a lot of bias there also, and a lot of discrimination. So I think this revenue question and this risk-reward thing applies to both, right? Whether you're a man or a woman.
True.
So can you just elaborate more on this? Because women-led businesses, right? Do you find that as a funding gap? Because femtech is just a subset of this. Yeah.
So women-led business, it does attract. It does attract a lot of investors, a lot of venture capital funds. As I said earlier as well, because a lot of funds, how you have a CSR of any listed companies, a CSR kept aside, a lot of funds now have kept a portion of their funds to be invested in women-led entrepreneurs, be it a co-founder or founder. In fact, a lot of founders have now got their women co-founders ahead, right? You talk about Byju's, you talk about MobiWik. Earlier, initially, their women co-founders were the sitting behind the male founders. Now they've been stepped ahead. They've been come in front of the the PR, the news, the media to show that we have a women co-founder. So this is not one, there are multiple. We have 100 plus unicorns, and out of the 100 plus unicorns, 20% is women co-founded. But they were never given the front stage, whatever be the reason is, but now they are. So women-focused investors definitely look into a women-focused entrepreneur. If there is a women entrepreneur, women business led by a women, there is a biasness. Maybe you say that let's talk to them. Let's see what we can do it. Take it forward. Why? One, because there's a portion of fund you have to deploy it. You have no other option, but you have to deploy it somewhere or the other. So
yeah. So coming back to this whole notion of VC investing, right? I mean, there are different types of VCs. There are a lot of those who also invest in the idea stage, and that's the whole idea of risk and reward. I mean, if you are already investing, if you're revenue generating, then you're a very different type of VC. You're looking at growth stage. Like, do you also look at very early stage, at the idea stage, and do you see any bias there? Because again, look at deep tech, right? A lot of it, you need to invest first upfront. You need a lot of capital for that. You may not be able to generate revenue. And again, I'm talking generally, right? This is not about women's health or femtech in particular, or women entrepreneurs, but just the notion of VC investing. There are a lot of funds that come in at the idea stage. In fact, a lot of the major funds, like look at Tiger Global, and Sequoia, they're all trying to go earlier now. So what is your view on this? Because I think if you're just saying that VCs will come in only if you're generating revenue, that might send out a different kind of message to
No,
entrepreneurs.
I'll
That's not
correct
entirely
you.
true. Yeah.
Investors will not come in when you're women generated. What I say, you knock multiple doors. There are multiple doors which don't even open to hear you. You know, the senior level analyst, junior level analyst either will talk to you, tell you, and after a given point in week or 15 days, they'll say, sorry, we're not investing in such businesses. Such cases, so there are multiple ways, there are different stages of startups. There are idea stage, there are highly credentialed ex-founded companies, founders who are coming in with a new fund, they're getting at idea stage funding. There are various stages of funding. Now, at what stage of level that you are lying in, which level of the stage that an entrepreneur is keeping himself in. It's a seed stage, an idea stage, the growth stage, bridge round, multiple rounds. And every round makes a difference. Investing in an idea stage is not bad. At that idea stage, that the company or the investor will look at the founder, right? It's the founder that you're investing in. If a founder is highly credentialed, highly experienced, you know somehow it's a fighter, he will hustler and he will get it across this. Or if that 50% or 60% that founder is giving in, 40% with your support, with your connects, you will get it across. Hence you invest in this. So there are multiple places, stages at a VC level, when you come in, some VCs might invest in, may see the credentials of the founder, but some may not. So every VC is working at a different level. At us, at our level, what we do in our fund and in our network is we look multiple phases. Idea stage only comes into it where you are highly experienced. When your credentials, even if not experienced in your entrepreneur journey, but your experiences, your degree says that you have a deep tech knowledge in that industry that you're doing, that you're working on. So it's a bet that you take. And in that bet, you have to work together. You cannot leave it to the founder. You have to work together. And that's what Sequoia Search does. That's what Google Accelerator does. That's what Accenture is right now doing it. They are bringing in together at an early stage. The accelerator that they've got, the fund, I mean, Accenture has every year minimum 2 entrepreneurs, early stage women entrepreneurs, they have to fund in. Google has an accelerator only for women.
A certain amount for women-led programs, right? And you're saying that there are a lot of opportunities because these funding institutions have ballparked into a certain project, into a certain scheme, saying that, okay, we have to fund 2 women entrepreneurs, we have to fund 5 women entrepreneurs. Why this need for a specific sum to be allocated in the first place? The idea that I am getting is that we need to specify a 5% there because we clearly know the 95% is not going to them. So then if this is the logic by which the venture capitalist community is really operating, how do you not say there's a bias in the ways in which funding to startup cultures is being really meted out? I mean, why don't you say that, okay, 5% funding will go to male startups? Why this need to say 5% funding will go to female startups in the first place?
Very good question. Why this is happening is the startup ecosystem, rather not even startup ecosystem, the community which is building in, the nationality which is making it, it's always been thought as a male-dominated community, right? And not thought, it has been. Let's be honest and let's accept it. It has been in the past. It has been changed in the last 10 years, that's a decade, that no, even women are much more stronger. Some have done it even in the past. But now it has been recognized and so it has been understood that women founders are way much better maybe than the male co-founders. Or they're at par. Rather, I would not even say they're better, they're at par. Right? So why not give them an opportunity? So what used to happen earlier is the preference to male is to be given. Why? Because of the multiple hats that a woman used to wear. Right? Now, a woman, even after wearing multiple hats, they're still able to manage all their responsibilities very well. And it has been recognized. In last a decade or more than that, if you see, all these have been understood. But it has not been acceptable at times. Hence, that fourth thing has come. Like, why you want to put into CSR? Why a listed company has to put into a CSR? Why can't they not do it by self, right? It's just that hence this to motivate our women entrepreneurs to step forward, to tell these ventures, capital funds, and networks to that they are good. You just cannot just talk to them, talk to everybody. Hence, right now, there have been a block of a percentage or a number has been given to start out with, so that there has been focus going on, there has been investment going on. Eventually, this will go out also. It's just like the sustainability and the CSR that you guys are doing. There's not much difference. You have to step forward. If you're not accepting it, I'm doing it forceful. Hence, there is a force act that, okay, when you're coming with a fund, 10% of your fund should go to women entrepreneurs. In the next 5 years or 6 years of your fund career. Hence that, eventually when you will see, when the fund talks to these entrepreneurs, they will realize the par, the balance that both the entrepreneurs together get, both the genders together get, they're both at par. Together, they actually a very good combination. We've invested in companies where there are male and women co-founded companies. Those companies are doing far, far much better because of the balance of act that both the founders get. So this has been understood why, because we've been forced to a certain extent, no, you have to do it. Once you understand that, once you start talking to them, you get into the flow and you say, no, now there is no force tag, now we want to do it. Hence that particular segment has come to start off with for now. And then it will eventually go away and then it will be at par again. Yes, please. I can still hear you, go ahead.
Yeah, I've raised funds for 3 companies. Right after my B school, I joined a Series B, Series C stage company. I've seen the industry for the last 12 years. I've raised early stage funds. I've helped raise growth stage funds, and I will say there is a funding gap. I'd also like to qualify on behalf of all the VCs as well as the founders, because I've interacted with a number of people in my last decade of experience, that I don't think female founders would want a fund allocated to them just because it's a CSR initiative, right? I've worked with male co-founders, I still do. I worked with female co-founders. When work is concerned, there is no gender lens. We are not talking about equality of gender here. We are speaking about equity of gender, which means that the funding gap needs to be bridged because women entrepreneurs have not had equity in the system. And one aspect of what you're saying is right, that for the last so many decades, we've not had representation in the boardrooms. For the first time in India, if you look at the number of women in the board, this time has been higher than the years behind, right? But we're still only 20% representation of unicorns. We cannot talk about Divya, coming up on Byju's today versus not earlier, and I think that equation is probably incorrectly represented. I think the question that I would like to ask you as an entrepreneur, since I've probably interacted with 3-4 growth stage VCs and 4 or 5 early stage VCs which have been on my cap table. The challenge that I have faced as a woman entrepreneur is basically to sometimes explain what is it that I'm building in the femtech space? Because the femtech space is still an unknown space, for many VCs. And I think that's the question we'd like to ask you, that how would the funding gap in the femtech space be bridged? Secondly, I have also personally experienced, say, 7 years ago, when we went out to the VC world, where I would go with a male co-founder, and despite my probably pitching the entire proposition, people would find some comfort in the fact that there's another male. And there was a bias back there, and I'm pretty sure there is a bias today also in the VC ecosystem. I have no credibility to claim anything here because I've never been a VC. But when I speak to my VC friends, both men and women, they sort of agree that there is a bias, and that bias has to be bridged. Now, today when I go to raise funds, because I've been a serial entrepreneur for the last few years, I think the credibility, like you said, whether I'm a woman or a non-woman, I think the credibility carries. But it is truth that there is a funding gap. And we do not want to have a CSR money allocated to us because we are not CSR. We represent more than 50% of the population. We are building for more than 50% of the population. So we'd like to understand how do we bridge for a gender-neutral, equitable funding gap. I think that's the question here.
Yeah, so there were 2 questions that you asked. First, the funding gap for femtech, right? Funding gap for femtech, it takes time. Earlier, it was the uncomfortable zone that the men were not ready, feel uncomfortable, or maybe women, to talk about breast cancer, or to talk about the other skin issues or that PCOS that the women have, right? And I'm talking about more than a decade back. Now there is no. Now there has been change. There are n number of companies, n number of women or men co-founded companies, rather only men sometimes co-founded companies who are only working behind women health issues, fem issues or femtech to support and to get this in place. Why this is happening? Because we are coming out of that male-dominated society to another society where there is an equality, right? When you're talking about equity, support, board representative of a woman, when it comes in at a stage when it is at par. When you both are treated at par, there are people treated at par. It just started. From 100 to 20%, we've just started. There's a very, very long way to go. But there is recognition. There's no, I mean, when you're talking about a decade ago, it was a step that you had to take in multiple times to prove yourself, right? But now you don't have to, obviously, because you carry your credibility along with you, but you also know how to convince them. You have the nag of your experience of what you are supposed to start off with to tell them, what am I? Even though you have a male founder or a co-founder sitting next to you. So number one, because of that uncomfort zone, earlier should not be there. Femtech, healthcare is going up. We've just heard Dr. Geeta right now on the breast cancer. There are multiples like that on PCOS, healthcare, cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer. Multiple of them were coming up. We come across such multiple male founders rather coming up with these solutions rather than women co-founded. Let me be very honest with you all. So there is I don't see a funding gap there again. Why? Earlier, as I said, it was difficult for a male venture capital investor to hear this because he had no understanding of that there is an issue, something like that. The first thing is you have to explain them that, listen, there is an issue, something like that, that a woman may be going through and there has to be a solution to it. Now there is so much of awareness and knowledge that people are aware. And hence this open technology, AI, AR, VR coming out for just femtech, healthcare. The second question that you asked about on the equity agenda. Board representatives right now, I think multiple companies have independent women directors. All listed companies are compulsory to have an independent women director today, right? Soon, all Series B companies plus companies would be wanting to have a women independent director. Right now, the stage is such, companies finishing the Series A, they're actually looking for either a venture capital, either an institutional fund which is led by a woman, and then they can approach them to sit on their board. Not one, multiple. Why? Nobody's doing a favor. Trust me, nobody's doing a favor. Everybody's looking for the benefit. And with your face on their deck or on their website, they are achieving something because of your credibility, because of your experience. So there is, I would not come to a point or give my view or opinion that there is an equality or inequality. They were both. Maybe in my opinion, there is none. Because today I am leading a community, which is a Jain community, which is a completely male-dominated community. Jito Network, it's a community which is completely male-dominated. But today, with the all-women team, we have focused it to such ways in the last 6 years that nobody can take even a single investment decision, be it even Motilal Oswal or Nirmal Nikhani or Prithviraj Kothari, Pradeep Rathod, they all talk to us. They all take a decision after talking to us, women entrepreneurs or women team in there we have. Why so? It takes time. There's always a gradual move. You cannot ask to jump from 1 to 100. You will have to take a slow step, and we've moved a long way. We've moved a very long way. And the last thing that I want to talk to you is when you spoke about you are not getting a CSR allocation. That allocation would be separate for every fund. But the fund doesn't just give a random fund to anybody and everybody. They still screen you all, they still analyze you all, they still keep you on the radar to see if you're the best to give you the fund. Because eventually they also have to show their MOIC to their LPs. So you only get if you deserve. But why that is there? Because there is an opportunity that they want to, because we have some allocation, we have to give a hear to them. And once you give a hear, you hear them, you actually get to know that actually these founders are really good. You're supposed you whether investable, not investable, the founder is amazing. You should give it a thought. You can mentor them. You can guide them. If your fund is not investing in such maybe companies, you have multiple connects to give, which is happening at the VC levels. If we are not able to fund, we talk to multiple networks and funds, we talk to them, we talk to PE funds, we tell them, they guide, they give businesses, they give you do certain things, you get them at a level and they get them at a funding level and direct PE funding happening. So, if you come on the other side of the chair, you understand that the VCs and the capitalists, they are working towards it. And they're not doing it for the sake of it because there's an allocation to the women entrepreneurs. No. Money is money, has to be churned out and there has to be some returns. So no CSR going to any women entrepreneurs unless it's a government grant, which also doesn't come so easily. Any venture capitalist, any angel network, any investor, any VC, global level, if they are giving you funding, trust me, you are 100% capable of something. There are delays. There are delays for multiple reasons. You know, sometimes you don't understand the reasons, sometimes we understand the reasons. But if you're good, if your product is good, if everything is good, there's no looking back. I hope I've answered all your questions.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I think we'll have to kind of restrict a bit here. I know there will be a lot of questions and comments, but I would request you all to kindly catch up separately for the same. Thank you so much, Ms. Pooja, for this wonderful and a powerful and a very interactive session. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much. As I said, there would be a lot of unanswered questions. We can exchange a lot of knowledge across here, maybe right now or afterwards. If I'm not around, I will exchange my card and we can definitely connect in later on whenever possible. So thank you so much and all the best to everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.